Hi, this video is about Google My Business SEO long-term trends. This is a super critical piece of SEO for any local business where these show up in the results. So, which is a very large amount of businesses. Anything that's like a home service business, this is going to dominate the results. It's going to be at the top of the organic results, above any, right below the paid results. And so what we can do is we can look at the real estate that it's taking up over time in terms of the maps on the screen. And so first of all, I want to ask, so it's increased substantially over time, but also kind of why. It helps to understand why, and it really comes down to money. Google makes, I think, something like 95% of their money from the ads in the search results. Okay, so you know, all that other stuff they do is mostly just kind of like testing and, you know, name recognition or gathering data and stuff like that. So, you know, this is where they really like to keep people. And also you can see like the space the ads take up is substantially more. But also, you know, this is like, you only get really the first result above the fold in this example here. And this was, I think, like 5 to 7 years ago. So you saw a whole lot more. You could see even these normal organic results. There were 5 of these below here, and you got a bunch of little maps results. But when people interact with the maps, these changes are pretty much all centered around making more money, and not around like user experience. Maybe there's some of it that's around user experience, but so if I go down here and I interact with this, or let's say I click on it, it keeps me on their platform longer, and they make more ad revenue, and they gather more data, and so they really like that. And so I think that this points to pretty strongly that these maps results aren't going to go backwards or go away. Maybe they'll change a little bit, but they've been in kind of this pretty similar state for several years now in terms of kind of how they look and feel, and how there's kind of 3 results and no more. It used to be 7, or sometimes it would be less, but up to 7. Now you never see anything like 7 anymore. It's always 3 or less, and so it's taking up a lot of space. And also on the mobile device, it takes up even more space, and you have to scroll pretty far down typically to get below the ads and the maps. And this makes sense because they have even more information about you with your mobile device. They can see kind of like where you've gone and where you are. It's more reliable data in that way. And so the fact that this is taking up so much real estate points to this being super important, and kind of the directionality of the fact that it's going to continue to be important, some form of kind of like Maps SEO. And so there's so many different Maps SEO factors and techniques versus 5 to 7 years ago. There were really only a few, and it was pretty easy to game in some ways. And a lot of the ones right now that work are not really common knowledge. There's a lot of really weird stuff that you can do. There's also the normal stuff. So, you know, I think this will always matter to some degree, and it'll be relevant to something I'm going to talk about in a second. Just like the keyword research, doing your on page, doing your off page, and doing your kind of having some good engagement metrics with your website is going to matter. It is possible that like there's sometimes you can see a Google My Business page rank without like a website, but it's very uncommon, and usually typically for something really uncompetitive. Or, you know, you're doing a whole lot of other work that you didn't really need to do as much work if you had your own website. And what business nowadays doesn't have their own website? So it's kind of weird for a business not to have a website, unless they're like a really kind of like maybe like a small time contractor. In that case, maybe, you know, maybe that makes sense to them. But I don't see it being something that they, you know, move towards. So this is a really critical area that they're looking at. This is really funny. Am I gone, funeral home? I'm not sure if that's what that's supposed to say. But kind of like looking at distinguishing between what is a real business and what is kind of like Google My Business spam. So if you don't know it, there's a lot of Google My Business listings out there that Google doesn't think should be there, that they're not like actual businesses at that location. And so what they've done to fight that, I'm not sure they have an exactly a GMB spam score, but there's something akin to that, or maybe there's different scores. And they're trying to kind of gauge how likely is this to be a real business. And there's several major ways that they do this, and by sending these signals or not sending the certain signals, it really helps you rank for the long term. It helps your Google My Business page not only not get suspended, but also just generally rank better. Because the more secure they are and that you're a real business, the more likely you are to rank. I think there's a certain threshold that you want to meet or don't want to meet with GMB spam score or like a real business score, and then you should generally be fine. And then I think you get pretty fast diminishing returns. But like searcher activity and interaction, so real businesses typically, not always, they'll have like branded searches, and people will actually interact with their Google My Business page when they see it. They won't interact poorly in terms of like seeing it and running away. Business owner and manager activity, showing up inside your Google My Business page when someone does a review, responding to a review, just generally kind of filling out the things that a normal business owner would fill out, as opposed to just kind of getting it set up and then never touching it again. There's not like a single thing here that definitely determines you to be marks your GMB as spam, or definitely marks your GMB as a real business. It just kind of adds up, and because there's plenty of real businesses that just verify it, or maybe even they haven't verified their Google My Business page, and they're a completely real business. They just don't care as much, or it's not on their radar. They have other fires to put out, or other opportunities that to them seems more in the forefront of what they should be focusing on. And then there's other kind of like online real business signals that you can send in terms of just like other websites that are referencing your business in specific ways that real businesses get. So for example, maybe like a bbb.org page, as much as bbb.org is not my favorite website. I think that they do some sidetrack. I think they do a little bit of unethical. I've had them try to sell to me in what I thought was an unethical way, quoting data that I knew was inaccurate. Basically saying that by me paying for their premium listing, I would get more traffic than what Google gets for my market, which was just kind of, to me, a pretty absurd claim, and the fact that Better Business Bureau was doing it anyway. But that's just an example of being in the Better Business Bureau or other things like that, and being there correctly. And there's so many other examples that you can have that really help with this. And again, as I mentioned before, kind of normal business stuff. So kind of a little bit more generally, and this is directly related to Google My Business page, it's sort of like personalized results, which is like proximity matters. So that's one of the things that has changed significantly from before, when I showed you the before picture. I mean, it used to be like, didn't matter what part of the city you search in. If you search Dallas plumber, if you were in North Dallas or South Dallas, which is, that's like 30 minutes driving, the maps results will look pretty much the same. But a long time ago, I don't remember when they started doing this, but I mean, it's been like at least a decade that Google has talked about really wanting to personalize the results as much as possible. And so I think that these are here to stay, and especially the proximity one. It just makes sense in a lot of ways. I think that they kind of also like kind of spreading the love around and making it that much harder for someone to just like dominate an area and make a bunch of money. And I think they really like this, and I think that they're getting positive feedback from their users. But there's all sorts of other ways in which they can personalize, and so you want to be aware and kind of think about this as time goes on. Kind of the device type. Am I searching from an Android or an Apple? Am I searching from a desktop or a mobile or a tablet? That matters. Your search history, any other just browsing history, your IP address location, and there's potentially more. I'm not calling this an exhaustive list, and here's a great personalized license plate, Audi or any. It's pretty funny. Anyway, I think that covers it pretty well. So definitely, in summary, definitely Maps SEO is a huge part of Google's focus going forward for any local business. It should be. And there are some important factors that are kind of strange and not common knowledge that you want to be aware of, but that it kind of tends towards showing that you're a real business in different ways. And that's to kind of meet a certain threshold. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions. Put any questions below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more. Thanks, and have a good day. Bye.